So today's the day, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get some epoxy primer sprayed on this Trans Am back here behind me. We've done a few things off camera between our last video, just minor rust repair, nothing major, just some of the same monotonous things that you've seen me do before. But I will turn the camera around and I'll show you what we've done. So starting up here on the front driver's side cowl area, we had a little bit of rust right in here that you might have seen in some of the previous videos. We did go ahead and cut that out. We just made a new panel to go back in there. I know they offer a whole replacement panel for this, but we didn't have that, so we just went ahead and made that up real quick, cut that out, put some new metal in there. Of course, you've seen us put our tabs there. We had a couple of little spots here in the trunk, some little pinholes that we welded up. We did have one big area of rust right over here that that kind of showed itself after the sandblaster. We cut that out, put new metal in there. Also in the trunk, I removed the factory spare tire holder there in the trunk. We're going to be putting the battery, I think, back here in the trunk, just to kind of clean up the engine bay a little bit. So we went ahead and moved those out of the way. We don't really need those. Again, this is not an original car by any means. Other than that, just a lot of little small welding jobs that we had to do, just kind of go back in and addressing some of our welding and rust that we needed to do. We did. We stripped down the other door that we have. So we've got both doors here stripped down to bare metal. We've got some little brackets and stuff that we've had made hanging up here, getting ready to get some primer on those too. And I'll take you over here in the paint booth area and show you what all we've got in here. So we've got our core support here. We've stripped it down completely of all the hardware, all the hood latch, the hood adjusters, everything's come off of it. We've sanded it. We've sanded the inner fenders. Front side and back side of those have been sanded. We did do a little bit of rust repair on this one. You can see there the new metal there. That little tab was rusted, so we repaired that as well. And then we've got our new hood over here. We stripped it down and got it down to bare metal. So everything is ready to get some primer put on. Speaking of primer, the primer we're going to be using today is Tamco's HP 771. This is a gray epoxy. Now we use a lot of Tamco products, but I gotta say this is the first time we've used the 771. This is a high build epoxy primer, and it's a two-part. So it mixes, part A to part B, equal parts. So you have 2 gallons of sprayable material there. I'm kind of looking forward to trying that. We've had really good luck with Tamco's products over the years. As you can see there, we've used their high build primer as well. And they offer this primer in gray, black, or white. Of course, we're going gray on this. And the reason being, we're going to do the whole car gray to start with. The car is eventually going to be black, but and once we move to the bodywork stage in our first round of 2K primer, we will actually do black primer on that. So once we know we hit that gray primer, we know to stop because there's bare metal right underneath there. Of course, we do our epoxy, and then we'll move straight into the bodywork. So we've got a barrier between our bodywork and bare metal. I don't like putting bodywork on top of bare metal. It's just my preference. There's nothing wrong with it, I guess, if you're doing a small repair job, but on something big like this, this is just the way I do it. So again, we're going to get everything wiped down, blew off, cleaned up, ready to go, get suited up, and we'll get some primer sprayed on this thing. One thing that I did almost forget to mention is I went back in and I welded these little tabs here. These are for the windshield clips. This is the rear window. When we replace this new quarter, when you get a new quarter panel, they do not come with those little tabs there. We've got a spot weld gun we put those on with. So we did that on both sides, and then we had a couple that was broke around the windshield. We've also replaced those. So I'm fixing to go ahead and get the primer opened up and do a little stirring on it, get it ready to mix up. I'm going to start with the actual primer first. We'll open it up, get it stirred, make sure that it's there's no clots or clumps or anything in there. This just came in today off the truck, so it should be good. One thing with Tamco too, a lot of times they'll send you a couple of sticks and some paint strainers and stuff like that when they send you, whether you buy paint, primer, clear, whatever, usually when you buy some of their products. And what I'm doing here, I'm just reaching for the bottom of the can and making sure that there's no, you can see there has a little bit thicker on the bottom of the can. So I want to make sure that's all stirred up really well. I'll get that stirred up. This is just the catalyst or the activator there. So I'm going to stir the primer up really well, then we'll pour it up and get to mixing. So after a couple of minutes of making sure this is stirred up really well, everything is off the bottom. You can see there, everything's looking really, really good. So far, just a quick comparison to the normal 660 epoxy primer that we would spray, or 661 primer. This does seem to be a little thicker. It has the consistency almost of the high build 2K primer that we normally use. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour up a couple of cups of this. These are just the mixing cups that I have here. I'm going to go up to a pint with my primer, and then I'll go up to a quart with my activator. I'm going to pour up at least 3, maybe 4. I've got 3 of these cups here that we had left from another project that I want to go ahead and use up. They're just a little bit bigger than my normal cups that I use. So let's get a couple of these going here. There. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these poured up, and then we'll be right back. All right, so we've got our 3 cups of primer poured up. We're gonna go ahead and open up the activator here. Give it a quick little stir here as well. Make sure that it's good. Again, this is a little different than the epoxy that I'm used to there with Tamco. And also another little quick tip that I'll show you here that we do. I was taught this a long time ago. If you'll take a little small screwdriver and come in here on your paint can, right inside this little lip here where your lid goes, and just take that. Usually a little screwdriver that you don't care if it breaks or whatever. We're just going to poke a couple of holes there. And then once we pour our product out, we'll pour on the side where those holes are at, and then anything that gets down inside that little lip will drain back down into the can, and it makes it a lot easier to seal back up, and then also you don't waste as much product there and getting all inside this rim here. Let's go ahead and give this, pour some of this up here. Any excess that run over, we'll just pick back up and put right back in. And then, like I said, this drains back down into your holes there, so you can put your lid back on and seal it back up a little bit easier. Just a little tip there, thought you might like that. We'll go ahead and get those stirred up. We're going to give them a little bit of time to set while we finish wiping down everything on the car. We'll get suited up, and I'll kind of go over that real quick, and we'll get ready to spray. So we picked up a couple of things here before we spray. I'm going to suit up. I've got just a disposable Tyvek paint suit, and then we've also got just a spray sock we'll put on our head. We've got a lot of material to spray. The epoxy primer tends to be really, really sticky, and we're going to be up inside the wheel wells, up in the trunk, and behind the dash. So I don't want all that stuff all over me, and of course it'll help keep any of the hair, fibers, whatever that I've got on me off the primer. We've got the primer mixed up. We've got everything wiped down. All the panels have been wiped down with Final Clean. So we've got it all ready to spray. We'll get the primer poured up into the gun. We'll get the camera set up. I'll try to film as much as I can. I don't really know all the overspray. I've got a ventilation system in here that kind of helps. But we'll do what we can with that. I don't want primer and stuff all over my camera. So we'll get you set up with that, and we'll get some primer sprayed on this thing. So as you can see here, I'm all suited up. I've got my gloves on. We've got our primer gun. Now, this is a 2.5 tip primer gun, so it's a really big gun. I can turn that down. There's a full 32 ounces of primer in here, so that's why I've got my lid taped down, just to make sure nothing comes out. So I'm going to get suited up here, put my respirator on. We're going to start with the bottom of the car. I'll turn you some music on there, and you can sit back and watch me work. All right, all right, all right. We got some primer, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm excited. This thing makes it look like a totally different car. So this is what, I mean, I consider this like the first major milestone or a major accomplishment for the car and in this stage of a build. Once we get our primer on, it means we're done with metal work for a while. We've still got a few little things we're going to do under the hood, but for the most part, this thing is pretty well done. We can jump in and start in with body work. I will say, comparing this primer, the 771, the high build epoxy, to the normal 661 primer epoxy that I spray from Tamco. Now, if you'll see here, that has a lot of texture to it. So this primer, if anybody's familiar with primers or whatnot, this primer almost sprays with the texture and the consistency of a polyester primer, but it is an epoxy, which I like. We've got a really, really good heavy coat on everything. I put one good heavy coat on the whole car, inside, the bottom, everywhere. We had a little bit left. That last cup there, so we reduced it down a little bit, and I did put 2 coats on the quarters, the doors, the hood inside the other shop here, the other right next door. So again, everything is covered really well. We ended up spraying the entire gallon, so at a 1-to-1, that's 2 gallons of sprayable primer that we put down on this car. And I used the 2.5 tip on the gun that I had, and I'm really, really glad I did, because this, you know, after we got it mixed with the activator, it actually got a little bit thicker. So again, like consistency of a polyester primer. So I really wouldn't recommend spraying this with anything really lower than a 2.0 tip, honestly. You can reduce it just a little bit and make it spray it a little bit easier, but we did not reduce it. We wanted it to be a really good heavy coat on everything. Again, we've got everything there. We've got our little plugs that we made for the floor, as the rear bumper brackets there. Inside here we have, again, the core support, everything covered really well on it. Our inner fenders, inside and out, and then again our hood. So again, you can see the texture in this, and this is okay. This is just the first round of primer, guys. We've got about, let's see, at least 3 more rounds of primer of 2K high build that we'll do, doing this thing black. So we'll make sure that it's blocked down in laser straight. So overall, pretty pleased with it. I think everything turned out really well. We'll let it dry for a day or two, and come back in, do a little sanding on it, and start our body work. So there you have it. I'm gonna get this suit off. It's late in the day. We're gonna go home, eat some supper, let this primer dry. We do have a quick update too on our chassis. It's in final welding and assembly, so we should have it, should be ready to pick up here in a week or so. We're just working with Roadster Shop on that. And also, if you guys like this video and like the build of this car, I mean, be sure to subscribe to the channel and go back. We've got a full build series here from where we started on this car to where it's at today, and we're going to continue that out until the car is done, throughout all the processes of, you know, body work, priming, blocking, wiring, assembly, all of that good stuff. We want to show you everything here that goes into building this kind of car. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to see the rest of it, like I said, we've got a full build video on our channel here, so be sure to go back and check out those videos.